Gabby. Thanks for sharing all your thoughts. I really like how you touched on the Michelle Carter case and the issues surrounding mental health and the social media aspect. And I agree with you that the case got so much attention because of just like the shocking nature of the text messages, and also because it raised an important question about suicide and mental health with the internet now. So I think that's why it resonated with so many people, especially since like many teenagers struggle with similar issues like bullying or family problems. And the whole situation with Michelle choosing to encourage Conrad is really heartbreaking, but I do think it opened a door for us to have these conversations so we know how to approach suicide and how we better support people and families who are going through that. So, regarding your thoughts on whether encouraging suicide should be criminalized, I completely agree with you that it's complicated, but it definitely needs to be something that we take seriously. I think this case just showed how impactful someone's words can be, especially when they have the power to manipulate someone when they're in such like a vulnerable state. And I'm with you on the idea that criminalizing this behavior could act as a deterrent from that. But however, like you pointed out as well, was how do we handle situations online? Because the rise of social media makes it easier to cyberbully and encourage self-harm and just to spread those ideas. And so it's hard to make clear laws to deal with that. And as for Michelle choosing to have the bench trial with the jury trial, I think you got it exactly right that the emotional nature of the case could have influenced the jury. And as you mentioned, that the defense team probably wanted to avoid any biases that could affect the outcome. So I think the judge was more likely the better option because they focused on the legal aspects without being influenced by media coverage or the public opinion. And then you also brought up Dr. Bregan's assessment of Michelle's mental health, and I understand where he's coming from, but like you said, I don't think it excuses her actions. Michelle may have had her own struggles, but I don't think that takes away all of the responsibility she had in encouraging Conrad. And ultimately, I think that what happened was tragic, and it just is a good example of how mental health issues, especially in younger people, need to be addressed and taken more seriously. And so now in part two, I really liked your insight into why women are less likely to commit homicide. And I think you're right, it's often driven by emotional or personal factors. And I think it's tied to social expectations of women being considered like peaceful and non-confrontational. But it's interesting how those same social norms might contribute to the gender paradox of suicide, the where men complete suicide, even though women attempt more often. Just how society's expectations on men tend to be more tough, and so they avoid seeking help, and that's why men are like less likely to survive suicide attempts. And then finally, the discussion on gender equity in tribal law was very important. As you mentioned, the pre-colonial indigenous communities had different views on justice, especially in cases of rape. And in today's system, it just fails to provide adequate justice. especially when non-natives commit crimes on reservations. The lack of jurisdiction for tribal nations to prosecute non-tribal members is a huge issue that we need to change. And I agree that sovereignty and legal reforms are crucial for addressing these issues so we can protect indigenous communities. That's all I have. Thanks again for sharing your thoughts. It was great to hear your perspective. Bye.